We'd now like to begin with our first panel discussion. Of course, a couple of minutes for us to clear, and of course, let us put our hands together as I invite the moderator of our first session, which is going to be 100 Smart Cities, Ideas and Impact. Request the audience to please bear with us for a couple of minutes as we say thank you to our guest of honor. May I please request the audience to remain seated? Once again, may I request the audience at the back end of the hall to please remain seated. We're about to begin with our first panel discussion, 100 Smart Cities, Ideas and Impact. I'd first introduce to you the panelists, and of course the moderator will then proceed with the panel discussion. Also, we'll end with an open house session with each one of you, so you're most welcome to raise questions, suggestions. May I now request our moderator for the first panel discussion to please join us on stage. Let us put our hands together as I invite Mr. Vinayak, Chatterjee, Chairman, Feedback Infra. I'm sure we have more energy than this first thing in the morning, so really let's put our hands together as our moderator joins us on stage. I'd also like to now invite and welcome on stage our panelists, Ms. Durga Shankar Mishra, Additional Secretary, Urban Development. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Durga Shankar Mishra ji. Welcome, sir. I'd like to invite Mr. Baijendra Kumar, Additional Chief Secretary and Chairman, Naya Raipur Development Authority, Government of Chhattisgarh. Ms. Grande, UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative. Let's put our hands together and welcome on stage Mr. Sujit Kanoria, MD Shristi. Mr. Ratul Puri, Chairman, Hindustan Power Projects. And Mr. Rahul Sharma, Partner and ED, IBM. I'd like to request all our panelists to please take their seats. I'd now like to request Mr. Chatterjee to please proceed with the panel discussion, and of course we'll end with an open house with the audience.
Good morning, and I suppose you're all wired up. I'm not going to go further on the introduction because our host and compare has already done that. So let's just plunge into the discussion straight away. It's about smart cities. Not just this morning, but as opposed to the last 3 months we've been hearing about smart cities. One of the questions that I've often been asked, and I've asked others, is what do you view is a smart city? I have, for our panelists here this morning, a clutch of 6 pointers to attempt a definition of smart cities and then see where that discussion takes us. A smart city is one which is first ICT, so information communication technology, ICT enabled governance, transit oriented habitat, which therefore bring a work-life balance between residents and workplaces and factories. So point number 2 is transit oriented habitat. Point 3 is energy, water, solid waste and effluent efficient. Point 4 is that it invites public-private partnership in its operation. Point 5 is safety and security. And the last is that it's environmentally friendly and green. Now, this to my mind is probably the best definition of smart city that I have got till now. I'm not sure it covers everything that you have in mind. So why don't we attack the panel straight away? And may I start with Lisa on my extreme right and say, here are 6 points to set you thinking, set you talking, and let's hear your reactions to these and any other points you wish to add.
Sir, thank you very much, and warm greetings to all of the other panel members and to all of you. In preparing for this session, the United Nations took a look at the experience of smart cities around the world. And if you allow me, we would put 2 more factors to consider. Factor number 1 is a smart city is one which is financially sustainable. That means that they have their own revenue base. The second thing that the United Nations would add is that a smart city is one that is governed by itself. When you have, and this is true across the globe, experiences of local governance, those are cities which are working better than where powers are divested away from the city. So we would add local governance and locally generated revenue.
Thank you. That was crisp and quick. Sujit.
Thanks, Vinayak. Yes, smart cities, the physical and social infrastructure is the most important thing, but the critical part is how to manage that in the future, going forward. And that's why there is an ICT mechanism to be able to manage it properly. And the basic ingredients of that is the data input, connectivity, the logic with the data input, and the most important part would be the data analytics. Because in a smart city, what we need to do is understand what kind of data is coming and be able to constantly improve the social and the infrastructure and also the governance mechanisms. So I feel the data analytics is a very important and critical part. So when we are creating the entire architecture as a whole, we must include this particular point in the entire architecture.
Thank you, Sujit. I thought I'd come to you next, but since he made such a major point on data analytics, I'm going to jump to Rahul Sharma from IBM and say, I'm sure you disagree with him. The data analytics is not required at all.
I wish I could say that, but I'd be fired first. But I think I agree completely there that there is a very high need for making sure that you're able to analyze and predict upfront what's going to happen within the city. But just to take a little step backward on that, I think one important thing that's missing here is also the social capital part. I think we have focused a lot on the economic capital, the sustainability and all, but I think the social capital is where the entire emphasis of Indian smarter cities needs to be. We would like to define this around 3 parameters, smart cities around 3 parameters: livability, sustainability and resilience. And I think around that, participative governance. The data elements obviously is very, very important because everything generates data. Every little sensor, every camera, every mobile phone is a possible source of generating data. And the government and the citizen can use it to predict what's going to happen where. So I think it's going to be very, very important. And how do you utilize all that to make sure that there is livability for people, I think is the key question.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask Mr. Baijendra Kumar, who's from the Indian Administrative Service, and very importantly, he's chairman of the Naya Raipur Development Authority. A straight question to you, sir. Is Naya Raipur smart or unsmart?
It is completely ready for a smart city, and we have started the smart city concept much before it has become a buzzword. We have this data and everything is enabled. All the systems are there. We have already appointed a consultant, international consultant. We have already in the process of preparing a DPR, and we are in touch with Government of India, and Government of India, we have shared our concepts, and then we are ready. That's what I can say.
So you're smart ready. That's a new concept. So there is smart ready and unsmart. You're in the middle, right?
We are ready. We have started activities and we are enabling ourselves. But we need 4G and more better connectivity to have better services. So what, I mean, for me, you asked others what a smart city means.
Yes.
To me, the smart city means a barrier-free, tension-free city where people can live peacefully and visitors can come and there is smooth life in that. That is what a utopian smart city means. And all other processes, digital or otherwise, the process of social participation, everything will have to be there to achieve this concept of a tension-free, barrier-free, smart city.
Thank you. And I suppose somewhere in the course of the day we have a presentation on this?
No, we have not.
Not on this, but on Chhattisgarh generally.
No, not
okay.
yet.
Okay. So, sir, I'm moving on to you because you are now Kendriya Sarkar, and therefore, as Mr. Naidu said, this political imperative to achieve 100 cities. Now that you've raised expectations, I mean, I say you, I mean the political establishment. So, you've raised expectations to say 100 new cities, and out of these 100 new cities, we first thought as the newspaper reading public that there are going to be 100 new greenfield cities which is going to accommodate this huge influx from rural India to urban India. Now we understand subtly that it is not going to be new cities, it's not going to be greenfield, it's going to be brownfield. Within brownfield, I heard Mr. Naidu say in the morning a little while ago that the priority is probably existing and new state capitals, satellite towns and heritage cities. So, a frank question to you, actually two questions. One, if you want to add to the list of points of a definition of the smart city, most welcome. And a pointed question to you, and I'm sure members of the audience want to know. So, please explain to us, in terms of thinking in the ministry, is 100 smart cities greenfield or brownfield?
Well, to start with, I'll just give you a background and then come to your question. Our Honorable Finance Minister had announced 3 programs related to the city. The first is urban renewal of 500 cities. It is definitely mid-sized cities, and urban infrastructure is there, that renewal of those things so that it start working, it start delivering to the citizens living in those cities. The second program we have announced for the Hriday, that is rejuvenation of the heritage cities. Cities like Varanasi, Ajmer, Vilankindi, I mean such cities which have got heritage value, so they should be rejuvenated, the soul of those cities should be rejuvenated so that they are available, I mean, to the public and all those who are visiting that city. And the third program is the 100 smart cities. That is to create 100 cities, and your answer is not all, I mean, still we are working in the ministry, we are getting inputs from various forums. I am here again to get some inputs from you. This August forum, there is people from different backgrounds who are here. So we are collecting inputs, we are still working on it. And so far the definition of a smart city, what is a smart city, it's not clear. I mean, it's not formed. We are still in the process of firming up what should we call a city as a smart city. Like Additional Chief Secretary of Chhattisgarh, he said that it is a smart ready. When a smartness can't be 100% a smartness, and it can't come on the day zero. A smartness is a journey, and a smartness is something which one has to, it's a milestone. You will achieve that kind of a smartness over a period of time, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, because depending on what stage the city is at present. If the city starts as a greenfield city, not that the greenfield cities are not going to be there, various greenfield cities will also be included in the 100 smart cities, like there is a corridor, Bombay, Delhi Industrial Corridor, some new cities are coming up, Bangalore, Chennai Industrial Corridor, some new cities are coming up, a new city for the, say the capital city for the state of Andhra Pradesh is coming. Some greenfield cities could be there, but also most of it will be the brownfield cities, the cities which are already existing. The greenfield cities take a longer time because they have to start from scratch. But the brownfield cities, they have got the advantage that they had certain level of infrastructure. You have to build up one to renew those infrastructure to make sure that they start deliver to the best of capabilities which have been developed, and to add to it so that you get the best satisfaction of the citizens. I will say the first primemost criteria for a city to be smart is the high level of livability in the city. That is the citizens who are living. Why are the citizens living in those cities? Because these are the hubs of economic activities. The economic activities will be some kind of a manufacturing, it can be some kind of a service business, maybe some other business which is congregating, which is attracting people, pulling people to come and stay in the city. Once they stay in the city, there are certain expectations of those who are living in the city. They require maybe 24/7 water supply and a clean water supply. Water supply facility is there, but 24/7 is not there. How can you get IT inputs? How can you get the sensor and ICT to play so that the facility which is already available for the drinking water? Our experience is once you provide 24/7 water supply, the requirement per head goes down. It doesn't go up, it goes down because people are assured of the water supply. Similarly, the electricity supply. It has to be 24/7 electricity supply. The sewage system works, so there is a sanitation all around. Solid waste system works. So all these kind of physical infrastructure, they deliver to the citizens best satisfaction. So how you can do that? One, to create those infrastructure, the already infrastructure is there, to add to that infrastructure and use ICT, top up with the ICT so that they start functioning to get the best satisfaction of the citizens. Then it is not only the social infrastructure, it is not only the physical infrastructure. Very important thing is the economic infrastructure. That is people who are living there, like you mentioned about the TOD. People who are living there in those cities, they should have some kind of economic activity. There are certain skills, the traditional skills, the skills must be added so that they start producing and they start manufacturing for one, our domestic consumption, one, second, exporting also. So there is more and more economic activity, there is a value addition to the economic activities so that the citizens living is again upgraded because of there is more and more income. Again, once you have the physical infrastructure, the social infrastructure, the next question is the the next question is the social infrastructure. The human beings, once they have, there should be some kind of a plaza, marketplaces, people who are where they can congregate, they can sit, there is so much of things to exchange between each other. So that kind of a social settings, how can we do that? Because in many cities we find that parks are there, but the parks are not of a good condition where they can get together. There are squares are there, but the squares are not adequately built up so that people can congregate and there could be social exchanges. So various kinds of addressing to the needs of children, addressing to the needs of young youth, addressing to the need of senior citizens. All kinds of people, that kind of a social infrastructure is there. And the most important of all these three is whatever we create that is sustainable. Sustainable environmentally, sustainable socially. So, it is sustainable, so it continues. Whatever we create, we continue. So how we can work all these things together? So what I will say, this is a kind of a journey. It's a journey where we are starting, we are still working on it. We are, we'll be firming up all our concepts on this, and then we come up with a program. We had discussions from the various forums, various economic as well as, the ICT, they have been discussing with us. We have also had a discussions, a kind of a consultation with the state governments, and once we firm up, then we start moving on this path of the smart city. And I will say, it may take some time, and slowly we will say smartness will come from the day zero itself. The very first thing is, the citizens there, they start feeling smart. They start contributing. Like our Honorable Prime Minister is going to launch a massive program of Clean India. The dream of our father of the nation was not only political freedom, but he said bigger than the political freedom is the cleanness. That is very, very important. And that he is going to, our Prime Minister is going to launch this on 2nd of October 2014, and we have taken a pledge that by 2nd October 2019, that is 5 years from now, to mark the 150th birthday of our father of nation, this country should become clean. And well, this cleanness can't be the responsibility of the government. It can't be just the central government or the state government or the local government. It has to percolate down to the citizens. Each and every citizen should start feeling he is part and parcel of this campaign which our Honorable Prime Minister is launching on 2nd of October. Everybody should start contributing. You might have heard him speaking in Bangalore where he said every citizen he will expect that they will voluntarily give at least 2 hours in a week and maybe 100 hours in a year. And once we start giving, because who is going to be benefited? The citizens are going to be benefited, and from citizens we are all privileged. A higher level of, where we have got certain privileges, our responsibility becomes still more. So how we can first get motivated ourselves, get committed ourselves, and two, pass on this commitment and motivation to each and every citizen of this country, that they start contributing towards cleanliness. One, from their home, the home is clean. Two, from the surroundings of the home, the neighborhood, that is clean. Then the gully mohalla, that the whole city is clean, then the whole country is clean, and then we get that image. Like we feel very proud when you go to Singapore or some city, that city is so clean. It is clean because of the citizens, and that is the kind of commitment we should get. Similarly, for this journey of the smart city, it is not only the government, it's the public-private partnership. The public-private partnership, that has to work together and add values to the different kinds of things which is going to be coming up, which we are seeing, which we are dreaming. It's a dream together of the whole country. If the country is dreaming to have this 100 smart city, and I will say the next 500 renewable cities, they will become smart. Then all other cities, the present status is we are almost like a around 32% urban population. And world experience is a country which reaches to 30 to 35% of the urban development. Now it takes a trajectory which is much faster. So expectations will become 50% of this urban population in another 15-20 years. So we have to all vow, we have to take a pledge, how we can contribute, what can we contribute towards this journey of smartness. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Ratul, I'm going to ask you a question. The audience must be expecting that, and you must be expecting that I'll ask you some power-related questions since you are a corporate power functionary. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to ask you a question as a citizen. Across the panelists and across newspaper reports and including what the Prime Minister has asked, there is a huge amount of talk of people's participation, of local governance, of participative governance, of everybody standing up. Do you believe that as citizens, and most of us in this room have been urban citizens, do you think we have been sufficiently participative in the past in urban governance processes? Have we voted for municipal elections? Have we participated in our municipal corporations? Have we ever gone there for meetings? And is that going to change amongst us? What, in your view, I'm asking you as a response, as a citizen, as an urban citizen, hearing him speak and hearing everybody else speak about the need to galvanize society and all of us, do you think there has been a weakness amongst us also as citizens, that we have not been sufficiently engrossed in civic activities, and is that likely to change now?
That's a difficult one. I know jotted my points down. By absolute surprise. No, so firstly, I would start off by saying, I'm guilty. I've never voted in municipal elections. I certainly believe that there is a certain level of apathy that exists, and that apathy comes partly from the fact that the quality of civic infrastructure that we have is truly extremely poor. There's been a vast improvement, but today the quality of civic infrastructure that we have in the country, urban civic infrastructure, is extremely poor, and there's vast room for improvement. I criticized someone on a panel, a few months ago when this was before the Lok Sabha elections, when he was an actor, and he said, I'm not going to go vote, and I said, that's the worst thing you can possibly do, because I said, you're a role model to many people in this country. I'm not. The other people in this panel are not, but you're a leading actor. You're a role model to a lot of people in this country. And I think when you mentioned that, I suddenly realized I have not participated in civic infrastructure. I've certainly participated in criticizing civic infrastructure. I think all of us have. But I believe that greater participation can certainly play an important role. However, having said that, I believe all these initiatives need to be vision-driven, need to be top-driven. You can always gather input. You can gather pointers from the citizens that you're serving. They can gain some power. They can gain some. I couldn't resist saying that. They could gain some power. They could gain some leverage by participating in these processes. But certainly, I believe these processes need to be top-down driven.
Good. I probably have a point to make supporting that. I think participative governance is not just about elections or voting. I think it's an ongoing process where you expect people to get tools to be able to interact with the government and the governance. I think social media is a very, very important tool to that extent.
Sure.
I'll give you the example of work that we've done in the city of Montpellier in France, where a citizen using a smartphone can actually provide input to the government about issues, civic issues that are happening in the city. And the government in turn informs them about things that are happening. You know, that starts the process of people to take interest in what's happening with the governance of the city and so on and so forth. The other thing that, I can think about in the context of India is open data. There is so much of data that is available with the government in terms of things that are happening. If there is a platform that can be provided to make these available to people, people will use it. And then they will provide input to it. So I think the use of social media and the use of open data is going to be critical in how participative governance works in smart cities.
Please. See, I have the experience of Naya, Raipur. Participation does not mean voting alone. We have acquired 8,000 hectares of land, and that is with an RDA. You must have seen in some other parts of the country, acquiring land like Singapore and other things, you should have seen the kind of agitations that had happened. I feel that this is a participatory process where we discussed with the Kisan and they have negotiated, we purchased land, we have given a package, and it has been a process by which a lot of discussions at the village level, at the mohalla level, at the ward level have happened. Then I would tell you, most of the organized like us have a concept of the Doordarshan model of participation. People will come and sit in Chapai or there and thing, and they say, let us go and vaccinate. Everybody goes to vaccinate. And it is not like that. A village has got bigger people, crooks. Village has got lower caste people, caste divide, digital divide. So much of divisions had happened in the strata of the society in Raipur, Naya, Raipur also. When you go for participation, you have to be very professionally trained person or NGO or government agencies which does a participatory process in the right sense. Otherwise, participation is only kind of a word, buzzword which we use. So I feel that Naya, Raipur, if you come, I can show you how the people have participated, and co-designing is a key word.
I think point well made. You want to come in?
Yeah, it's interesting if you look across the world about rates of urban participation in political processes. There's a direct correlation with whether or not the municipalities are selling municipal bonds and whether or not they have a complex taxing structure. Where municipalities are raising revenue through taxes and where they're raising revenue through municipal bonds, there's extremely high levels of participation in political processes. Where you don't have municipal revenues being generated through those mechanisms, what you see across the world is that political participation in urban areas is low. There's a direct correlation between them. I think it's also important to note that if you're being taxed, you have a lot to say about it. There's a lot you want to contribute to. So it's obvious that you would have much higher levels of participation in political processes when there's a taxing structure in place.
Sujit, you want to?
Yeah, I feel participation also will happen due to increased awareness. So how the citizens can be made more aware, okay, of the things which they can tell the government and the government can take action on that. So again, I will talk about ICT because ICT is an enabler. The biggest challenge, as he said, creating ICT infrastructure in a brownfield city is your connectivity. Because how do you create the connectivity? Managing the power, managing everything is required, but the integral part is connectivity. Now, laying fiber to every home in a brownfield city is a big issue. In fact, I've worked on this technology for the last 5-6 years, and I've created a broadband over power line technology to provide connectivity to every home through the same infrastructure. So we have to see how to use similar infrastructure, same infrastructure within existing cities to increase the ICT and thereby increasing the awareness of the entire citizen.
Thank you. Ratul, this time I won't constrain you. I mean, obviously your response to my question has sparked a lot of response on participation, but if you want to say something on power, please.
Thank you so much, Vinayak. Appreciate that. No, I believe
There's a significant opportunity we have going forward, specifically on the energy side, because I think energy is a key part of the design of our life, is a key part of the quality of our life. And there's significant energy efficiency. You talked about two key buzzwords. One was green and energy efficiency. I believe that as we go out and design our smart cities, either as brownfield or greenfield, there's a significant opportunity that we have to make these far more energy efficient. And it's always nice to talk about the generation side of energy. I mean, I'd like to go to the other side of it, which is the first part, which is energy conservation. I think, we're very poor today in India around energy conservation. To start with, I think, just the way we design our buildings, our building codes, the need to have far better insulation, we have to get rid of incandescent light bulbs. I mean, we have to move to LED lights. Along with that, I think a key enabler for energy efficiency will be demand-side management, because somewhere in the range of between 15 to 25% of cost, depending on which urban center or which part of the world you're in, or which part of the country you're in, comes from the fact that there are widely fluctuating load demand. By having smart meters, we address a number of different issues altogether. And one is we flatten the load curve, which can drive 15-20%, we can reduce cost by 15-20%, reduce greenhouse emissions because your generation operates in a far more efficient manner. And along with that, we can solve a problem which I think a lot of the Honorable Urban Development Minister, the Honorable Chief Minister all talked about, which is power theft, which is a big challenge I think we face in this country today. Along with demand-side management and energy efficiency, I believe as we are building out these smart cities, we have a unique opportunity, and I have to go back to solar because that's another area I cannot resist talking about. We have a unique ability of driving through building integrated photovoltaic. Building integrated photovoltaic costs a lot if you try to retrofit it, so I don't believe it's commercially viable if you're trying to retrofit it onto existing buildings. But the minute it is building integrated and done greenfield, ground up, it seamlessly integrates into the system, and you might add 5-10% to the overall cost of that energy, of that solar energy. Combined with that, we have an ability to again help with demand load side management, because solar energy generation perfectly overlays the demand cycle. We tend to rise at 6 a.m. in the morning. When the sun rises, we tend to go to bed, as most of us tend to go to bed in the evening. And when the sun sets, so solar energy generation perfectly overlays the demand cycle. I believe that there are multiple concepts that can be utilized very effectively to significantly improve energy efficiency and at the same time, drive green across our cities.
Thank you. Okay, till now I suppose the panel has been reasonably productive, because I started by tossing 6 ideas of what defines a smart city, and just to refresh the memory, I started with telling all of you it's ITC-enabled governance, transit-oriented habitat, energy, water, solid waste, and effluent efficient, private-public partnerships, safety and security, and environmentally friendly. And the panel has added 6 more that I listed down: financially sustainable, local governance and participative governance, data analytics, social capital and livability, barrier-free and tension-free existence, and smart-ready, means the journey is never over. You always move up the gradient. So we've got 12 points on which to define a smart city, and I'm sure, sir, these would be inputs useful to you. And in the balance 15 minutes that I have, I'm actually going to ask the audience to participate in this discussion also, so that we make for an interesting and lively session before we close at 12:15. But so please put up your hands, introduce yourself, and just tell us which panelist you're addressing your question to. Please don't give a speech. Please ask a pointed question so that many of your colleagues in the audience get a chance. And I have one special request. Hearing the Prime Minister yesterday at the Make in India event, and hearing Durga Shankar Mishra ji, all of them talking about a Clean India drive on 2nd October. So you've got to pay a price. There's no such thing as a free question. To ask your question, you will also have to tell all of us what are you planning to do on 2nd October in your mohalla? It is not enough to say that you will have a bath first thing in the morning. So your question must be preceded, otherwise we won't allow you to ask the question. Please stand up, put up your hand and say, what is it that you're going to do for your mohalla on 2nd October? House open. Nobody, see? So everybody's going to wake up late. Because there is one hand. Sure, please sir.
It's already 12. Well, good afternoon. I'm Pradeep Joshi. I am working with Larsen Tubro in the infrastructure space. I'm based in Delhi. Now, coming to what I would be doing on 2nd of October.
Yeah, yes.
Right. Well, I stay in Jalvayu Towers in Gurgaon, and even otherwise once a week on a Sunday, I go with a spike and collect whatever is on my morning walk. Once a week is my routine.
Great. Well done, sir.
So on 2nd, it would be an effort together with 8 others with whom I walk in the morning. Sunday, I do not go out with them because it's my routine, the other way. So on Sunday, I'll be going out with the other 8 and encouraging them to do the same. My question would be to Mr. Puri. You talked about energy efficiency and getting it inculcated into the smart cities and if possible into the brownfield or in the existing. BEE has a huge role to play there, and the industry has to rise to the occasion. As an electrical engineer with what I am, we know that DC devices are far more efficient. We need to look at creating a hybrid model where you have both devices working on AC and DC. The same device works on AC and DC. It works on AC in the night when the tariff is low. During the day, it works on solar and reduces the demand on the grid. I'm already working on it. We are trying to pilot one small project with the blessings of IIT and also BEE, that is as far as my entrepreneurial instinct is concerned. Nothing to do with Larsen Tubro on that. One other issue which the panel possibly missed, which I feel is very, very close to my heart, is ensuring that these smart cities, whatever we have, at least health is taken care of. We never address the concerns of health in this. Everything else has been talked, transportation, better connectivity and things like that. But if there is a township of 1,000 on 1,000 hectares, at least the primary health and to a large extent the secondary health needs to be taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ratul, quick repartee.
Sure. So firstly, kudos to you for going out on every Sunday, cleaning up your streets. I think it's a great initiative. I'm not sure where the question was in that in what you said, but I generally comment on the area you touched upon. Absolutely, I mean DC is more efficient than AC. I think in every area from transmission to in terms of the efficiency in devices that utilize them. I think when you look at solar, I think solar provides us with a tool. Solar outputs DC energy, and so solar provides us with a tool to effectively integrate that better into the devices that we are utilizing, and it's not difficult to build into our appliance codes the ability to utilize DC energy as well as AC energy. I think that becomes more difficult as we look at it across the length and breadth of the country, because now you're getting onto the appliance level. But I think when we get back to the ability, I mean, when you look at an LED light, I think that can take a direct feed in from a DC source, and so it's the first potential application that exists for that DC energy generated by solar. I think along with that, I think what solar allows us to do is to have graded levels of generation. So one, we have generation building integrated on top of rooftops, but along with that we can build small to mid-sized solar farms on the peripheries of cities, which can significantly enhance the share of solar in the overall generation mix of that particular city. And, you know, I believe that up to about 15 or 20%, we've done some calculation that shows that up to about 15 or 20% of the total energy consumed by a particular city can come from solar before you have any need to store it. So, you know, if you look at it overall, I think solar combined with DC, combined with building integration, you know, can play a significant role in terms of making these cities more energy efficient.
Thank you. Mr. Joshi, I'm not, you know, your point on health, I think, is well taken. I don't think anybody will have any quarrel with it. It needs to be built in.
I think when they are conceiving the smart cities, we are conceiving all other things because it's interministerial. As Mr. Additional Chief Secretary mentioned about the security. This is security, entertainment, school, education, health, all these things will be taken care of. So that, I mean, the smart city means it's a high livable city. It's a high livability cannot come unless you have got that, all those facilities available on board. Okay?
As regard to the solar energy, our new secretariat in Naya, Raipur, 1 megawatt is solar.
That's good.
And we are using LED lighting, and then we are saving about 30-40%.
That's very good. You are very, very smart, ready.
Naya Raipur truly is a great example.
Next, anybody? Yeah, you got a hand up. Dr. Mandal. Yes, I've introduced you. But 2nd October.
Thank you. Dr. Mandal from SREI group of companies. Essentially to Mr. Misra, but anybody
2nd
can.
October first. What are you doing on 2nd October?
I will certainly instigate my people living in and around to participate in cleaning my areas of residence.
But you won't do anything yourself.
Well, I am participating.
He's a leader. He's a good manager.
Mr. Misra, my question is the smart city concept is very laudable indeed, and I'm glad to hear the minister saying that in the next session of the parliament itself we are going to get it clear. But obviously the smart cities will be in the states, and the state government will have to be involved and associated in a great way. How do you, propose the private sector to participate? Directly to go to the state governments, or come to the central government authorities, and some kind of participation, if you expect PPP to be associated with the state government authorities or with the central government authorities?
Very simple question.
Thank you.
PPP policy.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Under our constitution, there is a responsibilities given to the central government, to the state government. I mean, this urban development is a part of the state government responsibility. There, the central government is helping preparing the framework, in providing some kind of a viability gap wherever it is needed, providing modules where, I mean, like what kind of modules will be there, one for the public participation, public-private participation, completely private initiatives, all these things are being worked out, and they are going to be shared with the state, so that it is ultimately it is the state which is going to take the lead. Rather, I will say it is the cities, because we have got the three-tier structure, the central, state and the local body. It is the local body which is going to take the major initiative. They are going to take care of the infrastructure, they are going to take care of the various other components of the smart cities, immediately with the assistance of the state government, and then overall structure, superstructure, which is going to be provided by the central government.
Thank you.
And on the 2nd October part, I would like to add, it is not only 2nd October of 2014, it's a journey from 2014 2nd October to 2019 2nd of October. So it is not a symbolic one-day involvement. I will urge upon all of you, you are all very privileged citizens who have got, who are the opinion makers in the society. So you should take a lead. What is that we can do on 2nd October 2014, and from there onwards, so that each and every citizen gets totally involved in making their place, workplace, their home, their city, everywhere absolutely clean. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, got a hand up there, please.
Arvind Rai. I run a play school in Puri, dealing with early education. 2nd October 1st. So, not on 2nd October, but we are doing a program on 27th of this month. Saturday, to be precise. And as our initiative, it's not a hardcore cleaning exercise, but we are sort of inviting people from Achal. There's a special school for specially able children. And we are sort of giving them an opportunity to mix up with the regular students that we cater to. That's one, and we are also inviting another school. That's a girls' school, again run by government. They will be again participating with the kids that we cater to. Apparently they are from opulent families. So this is basically a mixing exercise that we'll be doing, not hardcore of cleaning the litters around. So that's part one. The question part. Electricity, yes, it's covered. Water, yes, covered. Security, yes, covered. Entertainment, yes, covered. What's not covered perhaps is, how do we connect to our neighbor? A very essential question. What do we do about governance? Specifically, we're talking about from industry perspective, lots of red tapeism, this, that. Our leaders trying to get it done away with. But there's lots of similar cases even in the societies that we are living with. Is smart city only going to address electricity, seamless connectivities, transportation, stuff like that? Or we are going to be doing something about our gender biasness? We get them together, gender biasness, sensitivity towards the elderly. That's what I believe a smart city is. When I would like to move out of a Delhi and go to another smart city next to Delhi where people love each other. We are taken to that level where we start connecting to the neighbors. Perhaps security personnel come later and the neighbor comes first to help thyself. So apart from physical buildings and whatever infrastructure we're talking about, there are lots to be done on that side. So which government department is going to be taking care of that is a larger question. But I was supposed to be pointing out a question to one of you, and I could not decide.
We'll ask the most international among us.
I would excuse myself and yourself from this. Preferably, I would like one of rest of the other guys to be answering me, than the lady. But this is our local problem.
Understood. So the question is about fostering good neighborliness, a fellow feeling with people who stay in and around our houses. So we'll start with you, and every panelist is free to respond.
Oh, I understood that I was going last.
No, you're not.
You know, on the question of solidarity and collectivity, what the evidence suggests from around the world is that when services are being delivered, when housing is affordable, when jobs are being created, and when there's safety, people start to interact with each other in a way which reinforces a sense of solidarity and common purpose. And I think that this goes to the point that's been raised by a number of colleagues on the podium today, that what we're really talking about is this wonderful concept of livability. Sir, you spoke very well about this. When you achieve a tipping point of livability, then you have the sense of solidarity that you've spoken so eloquently about. That's a combination of good governance, affordable housing, education for the children, good health care, sir, you raised this, for all citizens, and jobs and connectivity. When you get all of that together, then you have the kind of life you're talking about, the kind of livability that everyone aspires to.
Sujit?
Yeah, you see, I believe that within the city you need to create communities which have the same concern. And that will create better interaction, because you know, if I have a certain concern and I'm aware that someone else has that concern within that particular city, then it increases more interaction and connectivity, etc., with that particular citizen. So, like social media, I think this is a good enabler to be able to create more interaction.
It's not relevant for Sujit because he barges into everybody's house, but point well made. He just told me that as part of the answer to your question, everybody is invited home for dinner at his place in Naya, Raipur. To foster good neighborliness.
I would say that when you make a city, green city or a smart city, you should have ample common places where people can come and enjoy and talk and use Wi-Fi connectivity. A lot of spaces, public space is required. In India, we have the habit of using even this parking place into some kind of a cellar, some kind of a commercial activity. So common places in a municipality or a city is one of the important places where people can come together. Number two, you have to have residents associations where, you know, they come and have collective decision making in certain aspects, including services and water supply, like things like that. I should tell you that it is not an easy task to have all these social and other ethical concerns built into a society which has to be evolved over a period of time. It is easy to have smart cities of Norway, where the people, the total population is say 70,000, 80,000, which probably would be one of our wards will have. So these are huge kind of cities we have, including metros and other cities. It will be extremely difficult for a city or a person to make these kind of concerns there. But it used to be there. This has to come through various methods. Wi-Fi is not about connectivity. It is about services. It is about, internet is not about connecting computers. It is connecting minds. So suppose you do that, in our society, we have a group, email group, we have a kind of WhatsApp group where you can communicate with each other, and immediately all these activities are there. But there is a digital divide which I have already earlier told you. I have people in Bastar who have not seen a train. So a digital divide will have an impact on all these things.
Okay. In terms of good time management, I can see 2 hands up. So I'm only going to take 2 last questions and wind up the session. You, sir, you have the second last question, and the lady here has the last question. Then we'll wind up the session. Over to you, sir.
My name is Arun Birmani. I am an architect. I had decided almost not to ask a question for 2 reasons. I always ask. The second reason, because you had put up googly, what are you going to do on the 2nd of October? So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I do a lot of work for the public. I'm an architect with plus other things. So the first thing which comes to my mind is, I do a lot of work for other people. I'm organized for other people, but when it comes to myself, my own room, study, I am not that good. And you get away with it with somebody come, oh, all the artists are like that. So I make it a point now that I shall be totally clean on the 2nd of October and clean it thereafter also, because that becomes it. Now, having introduced myself in a different way, I see art is missing in all the panels we have, and I for one have created public art in my buildings, and public art or art and architecture or street furniture is really very important. That is, I think, that gives you joy. But so all these smart cities I have not heard of. Enough art, enough interaction, enough places where you can enjoy yourself in good places. I see a person from Chicago. Chicago is wonderful for public places like that. We'll talk about it a little more. Art is missing most of the time. Thank you.
Point well made, sir. Over to the last question with the lady here. What? Mike.
I'm Professor Sanjukta Bhaduri, heading the Department of Urban Planning at School of Planning and Architecture. It's not a question to anybody, but it's a question to the entire panel.
No, but before the question, ma'am, you have to answer 2nd October.
Yes, 2nd October is Puja time. I'm living in CR Park, so Puja time, Durga Puja time, the entire CR Park, it's all of our responsibility to keep it clean. So the next point is that monitoring the cities. I mean, we are all into development. We know that the cities have to be developed. But how do we monitor and how do we review? So that mechanism has to be in place. So it is one reaction which I expect from the panel is that how do we ensure that mechanism should be in place in our endeavor of going up with cities. And next, the second point is that we were talking about that heritage cities. One issue we were saying that, okay, over a period of time we'll make the cities, new heritage cities smart. But then one point is that, in Varanasi, the Ghats, and we say that elderly people, they are the main people who go to these religious areas. If those Ghats are not disabled or I would say elderly friendly. The steps, they are so, high risers. So how do we make such situations elderly friendly? That is also points which we have to keep in mind. So there are many aspects which need to be looked into in our many situations which need to be looked into.
Thank you, ma'am. Your point on elderly friendly and your point on monitoring, I think, are all on board. So I'm not going to ask for any panel. We have crossed the time limit, so on behalf of all of you, may I thank the panelists for I suppose, a productive session, and to thank all of you for your attention and your participation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Chatterjee. And sir, coming to, before I thank each one of you, may I request all of you to please join us for a photo opportunity. And as I thank our moderator and our panelists, may I request Ms. Sunita Kodra, Business Head, TCL, BCCL, to please join us on stage and appreciate the presence of all our panelists and of course our moderator. Thank you to each one of our panelists. Thank you, leaders. Pleasure indeed. Thank you, sir. And of course, Sunita thanking our moderator. Thank you, Sunita.